Captain Marvel. Is he really Captain Marvel? Is this something that we have to look at?
It is, because there's also, where is it? There she is. You don't have to move, I have to move.
Captain Marvel. The genesis of Captain Marvel is Captain Marvel. And that's who we will be discussing today.
Yes.
A 2-bit hero who was from another comic book company.
A 2-bit hero? No.
Who basically came
what we're talking about is the Marvel Universe and Marvel. There is a history of of Shazam and Captain Marvel. It was at Fawcett that later went to DC. But, Marvel got the license, this, that, and the other. But then they had their Captain Marvel, which his real name was Marvel, with a dash in between it, Vell.
And he was an illegal alien.
He was an unknown. He they didn't know that he was an actual alien up until later. But he slowly, he he was in the Avengers for a time, but at the same time, the writer of Captain Marvel also worked for the Avengers, so he brought him into the Avengers a few times. He wasn't necessarily an active member, but, was with the team from time to time.
Who was the creator of Captain Marvel? The Marvel version?
You could say Stan, but Stan and Roy probably together, since Roy Thomas was Stan Lee bought the license. Roy, I think, was the first to write the book. Mm-hmm. But it's basically using the name Marvel, since they had Marvel and they have Marvel Girl, so they had the Captain Marvel, then they have Miss Marvel. Just using the
Marvel name itself?
Keeping the Marvel name and having an official Marvel character in there, because
we're talking about Brie Larson. Brie Larson is going to be Captain Marvel. She's the one that they're pushing in the movie. She's the one that Kevin Feige thinks is going to be the savior of the Marvel Universe. I don't see how. Her character's been a 2-bit character for quite a long time. They've done a couple of combos. Hey, I can't knock it. They tried the same thing also with Black Panther and it didn't work. But look, the movie worked with him, and now they're pushing. Was
it Paris Collins that said that Marvel has failed with Miss Marvel as Captain Marvel, like over and over again, that this book hasn't sold? And that's the sad part about it. It's probably going to work in the movies, but hasn't worked in comic books. Marvel, the Captain Marvel, the male character, he had 2 runs, that ultimately sales didn't work. So it's almost a copyright name character, to have a Captain Marvel sort of thing. It's not really a character that's been a success for Marvel, because he has many great stories. He was involved in the Thanos story, which we've talked about many times. He was also involved in he was in the Kree-Skrull War, but he was more, that ultimately became Rick Jones' story about having the lay character have this moment of showing what mankind could do. So Marvel's definitely there. He's got cool scenes fighting the Super Skrull. It's great to have this Kree captain fighting the Super Skrull, having the 2 wars, which in the Kree-Skrull War, so it worked. It worked pretty nicely. But if you look at those comics, I think Al Milgrom draws it with a bunch of different artists, and obviously Jim Starlin did the run early. So there's a lot of good stuff there, but it didn't necessarily hit the mark as far as getting an audience. And then a little while after that, they did the death of Captain Marvel. Now, Miss Marvel was out too, and Miss Marvel, who we just showed you, that's over in the thing. You don't have to move, I move, but she's in here. And Miss Marvel had a 24-issue run, which they like to say is 25 issues, which is not. They actually reprinted some issues plots that Chris Claremont was thinking about doing with Mystique, but then it turned it into this big thing that was way after the fact, like Dragon and Rogue and all this stuff. But she didn't hit the mark on her first run. And then at some point, the son of Captain Marvel had a miniseries. He had a series with Peter David, had a great artist, Chris Cross? I think that's the name he goes by. Gorgeous art, but the book was, I think, same time, I think Burns' Hidden Years was canceled. they kept propping this Captain Marvel book back up, saying, "Oh, readers write in," and the book didn't necessarily sell that much better, but they kept it going, and that died out. Then, then they did Carol Danvers takes the mantle, had some gorgeous stuff, but it still never really found an audience. So in the movies, it might be the perfect home for it, but it's kind of hard to say they're going to add this new character that's going to bring. But this is what I want. I wanted this. I've said to you that they put Captain Marvel, the female Captain Marvel, on the slate, and I wish they put her out before they did Spider-Man, because with Black Panther doing so well, they could have had a female superhero before DC do very well. So I've said a lot of things that were semi-negative to the character and Captain Marvel in general. But what do you think? Do you think that I just wish they did it earlier. I wish that was the point that I want to make, and that's why I kind of abruptly stopped this before.
So I mean, what about Black Widow? What about
I wonder
what about the Scarlet Witch? She's just showing up in the movie. What about? I mean, she has so much back history that you could like, especially with being the daughter of Magneto on her own with the Avengers. I mean, there's so much you could do. But why delve into Captain Marvel? Why go back into that well?
But Captain Marvel, you can draw from the stories. You can have her fight Deathbird. You can have her fight the Sleazoids, since you have all the Marvel characters. So if you're planning on doing a franchise, you can have an action adventure franchise, which hopefully the movie is. That it's just not just because a lot of these movies do the Greatest American Hero, where the heroes find it and flipping and fall and all that nonsense. If they just like have a nice romp or a legacy thing where Marvel passes it on to the female, we might have a fun movie, But I really wish Marvel kind of threw the thunder that Wonder Woman did so well, and now Marvel's doing it. And whether people think, oh, this is how Wonder Woman should have been, it's like, no. They took the chance, and they tried to do a movie that's set in a period.
And you got to give kudos to DC for that. I mean, they did it, and it worked. Whereas, you're right, I see what you're saying here, but, look, it's going to be Marvel. I can't expect it to do horrible. It's going to do, at the very least, anywhere. If it does Ant-Man money, it's going to be all right. If it does Captain America money, it's going to be spectacular. So I give it kudos, give it a shot. I just wish that they would have done a movie on my girl,
Black Widow.
Okay, and I'll hold that. That was a natural.
That's the thing. If you're a chicken and you wanted to do Hawkeye and Black Widow, then do that fine. Because obviously, like Hawkeye is a long range character, and Black Widow's the character's right in front of you. So
yeah, So, hey, sorry, this is
Scarlet Witch is a reactor, so you can't. She doesn't really work that well for solo movies. Maybe a story with her as the focus.
Yes, that definitely would work. But hey, thank you very. But then again, I hate Vision, so.
Well, this
unless
he doesn't really use his power.
As long as you don't bring Vision, if you have her more, well, they can't add it to the X-Men. Now they have the X-Men, they technically could do the House of M. One of my favorite stories.
Oh my gosh, Spinnerak out. House of M.
I love that story. Yeah, man. Why you don't like Bendis?
Bendis?
That was a good story, bro.
It was not.
Okay.